doing the Conformist, I am just 27, 28, 29. I'm quite young, but I've done already a few movies. A movie called La Comare Secca, which is in English The Grim Reaper. Then I've done Before the Revolution. Then I've done Partner, which in fact are three feature films. In '69 I shot a movie produced by the Italian television RAI called The Spider Stratagem. So I was in the editing room with Spider Stratagem when I understood that I had to go on with the Conformist. I mean, I used to think that the movies made before the Conformist were movies directly, straight from life. And the Conformist, I think now, was more a movie coming from life plus cinema. The Conformist is a Moravia's novel. The lady I was living with, I remember, read The Conformist, and one day she said, "Listen, I like it very much." And I said, "What is it about?" And she told me the story. I was so taken with the editing of Spider Stratagem, I didn't read it. I went to see Luigi Luraschi at Italian Paramount, and I told him the story without having read it. He liked it, and he told me, "Let me read it." And in a month, sitting at my typewriter with the book there, I wrote, making changes, inventing parts. I wrote a script. Very soon the script was approved, and I had to put together a crew.
When we reached the Conformist, the story is a man that want to be conformist with everyone else because he knew that he's different. And what he felt that he's different, because when he was a child, when he was in the puberty, he had an episode that he was took by a young man, by a driver, and this driver touched him in such way they felt him uncomfortable. This man has a gun. Because he was uncomfortable as a child, he took the gun and he shot all around. Till they saw this man on the floor with blood all around. And he thought as a child to be an assassin. So from that moment on, he thought that maybe he was different because he was an assassin. So he was trying to hide himself as an assassin and show a facade of him as a normal human being. At that time, to be conformist means to be a fascist. He wants to be even more than that. He wants to be somebody that go searching for people, anti-fascist people. So he put himself into this organization, searching for the anti-fascist people. And through the organization, they let him to search for his own teacher in order to catch this man. There was escape in France, because France at that time, Paris, was the city of freedom, the city where you can tell the truth against any government and then nobody will put you in jail. So the fact that he all the time is trying to hide himself till the moment that he really discovered the truth.
The conformist is somebody who feels that he is autre, different. He feels so uneasy, uncomfortable in his body, in his life, in his world, that in order to hide his difference, he wants to be the most normal, conventional person in the world. So he wants to be the perfect conformist. So Jean-Louis Trintignant is Marcello, who is in fact the conformist from the title of the movie and of the book. He was shooting quite a few movies in Rome, so a friend of both organized a meeting. And when I saw him, I didn't have any doubt immediately. Jean-Louis was the first choice. He was just immediately what I've been, in a way, dreaming of. Not very tall, perfectly proportioned. I mean, his proportions were perfect. And I didn't do any screen test. The decision was taken in few minutes, but it's always like that with actors. Either it's something that happens immediately, or it's never. If I feel in the person in front of me a big amount of secrets, I know we are on the right track. Because for me, to direct an actor is first of all to give flesh, body, shape to somebody who so far is just a ghost on a page. Is somebody who exists only in a literary form on the page of the screenplay. So the volume of mystery in somebody makes me very curious. And in choosing somebody like that, I know that during the whole shoot I will transform my curiosity in a form of exploring. And the secrets that this person hides will become part of the character which is written on the screenplay. And Jean-Louis was very apparently so normal that I thought behind this appearance, behind this normality, something hides which really I want to discover. And that's the reason why Jean-Louis is the protagonist of The Conformist. These are the two sides of the personalities of Marcello, the conformist. One side is the wife. Of course, as wife he chose the most perfectly middle class, or let's say low middle class Roman, who is all family and church and good established values. The other one is the French wife of an intellectual. Her husband is an anti-fascist, and we discover in the film that she has a lesbian attraction for Sandrelli. Stefania Sandrelli came immediately to my mind as the perfect actress for the part. To find Dominique Sanda, it was more complicated. I remember that I even went to see Brigitte Bardot in Paris. In spite of all the admiration I had for her, she couldn't possibly represent somebody transgressive like the character in the film had to be. So then I saw other actresses of the moment, and we went to see this new Bresson film, which was there, and I found that that girl was the one I was looking for in Paris. I could see her already in the costumes of the 30s. She was perfect. She could have had an aura of this thing, glamour, which didn't exist anymore, like Marlene Dietrich was, like Garbo was, that kind of aura. So, altogether, all these elements took me to choose Dominique. So she's somebody who is also involved politically, intellectually. I mean, and that's why Marcello falls in love with her, because she represents everything he refused to be. And she is the exact opposite of the wife he chose. And I don't know if the viewer is aware, but I wanted the viewer also, like Marcello, to have the feeling that this woman has been seen before in some way. It's like if Marcello had a fantasy about a woman, about a face, about a body. So you see Dominique Sanda before, once for a second, in Rome, in the fascist ministry. And then again in a brothel.
I'm crazy. A complete maniac. I'm crazy. I'm crazy.
I didn't want to underline too much, to make it heavy, that was a kind of ideal woman for Marcello. I wanted to be kind of a mystery, something not stable, something
Clerici,
weird.
what are you doing wasting time?
With the Conformist, the cinema was grown up, and I became a grown up in cinema shooting the Conformist. When they asked me, I remember, how do you see a certain moment of a film? I cannot see it till I am there. I only can see it through my camera. Even today, it's very difficult for me, preparing a movie, to figure out how things will look. You know, you write a script, and then you read it, people read it, they do the budget, they approve the script, they ask you to change the script, you fight, you win, you lose. But the real thing is when the reality in front of the camera informs and starts to inhabit inside these people. I always tell my actors, please surprise me. I need to be fed with surprises. Surprises are nourishing me. And doing the Conformist, as I said, I was feeling like a grown-up director. My love for the 30s can be seen, I think, in the framing, in the sets, in the costumes of the film. I think there is a real visual love. And for me it was a dream to be able to spend time in an atmosphere which was the atmosphere I heard about from my parents, who were coming from that period, and it was in the movies that I loved. So with the Conformist, I had the occasion to go back to that specific period of cinema. So, of course, the director of photography was Vittorio Storaro, who I shot just a few months earlier, The Spider Stratagem. Vittorio was the focus puller before the revolution, so I knew him. He was very precocious. I must say that we were both very precocious. He was more or less my age.
One of the main points that made the marriage between Bernardo Bertolucci and myself was the way they was used to mise en scène the putting together as a director a scene, not necessarily everything in a very conscious way. For many reasons in his life, he need to show always the idea through symbols, like in a dream, like in a very mysterious way. And at the same time, I said, Bernardo, let's creating a kind of cage around this character. Let's use the light in so sharp way that there is no any embrace, no any harmony between light and shadows. Bernardo loved this idea, so we decided to do all the entire part of Rome through this claustrophobic feeling. And of course, we have to have an evolution of this kind of vision. So we said, when he moved, go to France, we have to see that the light start to embrace the shadow, start to not to have this kind of separation. He start to change too, the leading character. And we should start to see maybe color.
Violets, monsieur. Lovely fresh violets. These are real Parma violets.
They're really from Parma?
Absolutely.
Let me have one.
I remember that I met this guy called Ferdinando Scarfiotti, who had worked with Luchino Visconti and was same age as us. I met him and I gave him the book, I gave him the script. He was very inspired. Together, thinking about this atmosphere of fascism which was in the Moravia's novel, we went to visit EUR, which is an area of Rome built during the war. It was a kind of architectural dream of Mussolini.
Bernardo loved to shoot in real location, not in a studio. We did in the studio only one scene, the radio station, let's say, because we have to do for Italian law to at least do a few days working in Cinecittà studios. That's the only scene that really we did in studio. The rest was in real location.
Oh, I'm forgetting the costume designer, Gide Magrini. First time I shot with her. She was from Milano, but she worked in the last 10 years in France. And I was completely in love with French cinema, with what's called La Nouvelle Vague, the new wave. And to have Gide straight from the movies I loved, it was a great privilege.
I remember that one day we did an interior in Rome. There was supposed to be an apartment in Paris, but the apartment where Professor Quadri was living. And Jean-Louis Trintignant was his student arriving in Paris. Tried to remind to this teacher a concept they learned from one of his lessons, the myth of cave of Plato.
Imagine a great dungeon in the shape of a cave. Inside, men who have lived there since childhood, all chained.
So once we went into this set with Bernardo was explaining to me the concept. He says, you see, Vittorio, into this myth, there are people chained into a cave. They are prisoners. They are prisoners since the beginning of their own life. And they are forced to watch in front of themselves the back end of the cave. And what they're watching? They're watching some moving shadows created by a fire behind them outside the cave. They are interrupted by people passing by with statues, with flags, with elements. And those shadows projected into this back of the cave are what those prisoners, those people thinking that those are reality. If you're thinking for a moment that this is a perfect metaphor for cinema.
You could not have brought me from Rome a better gift than these memories, Clerici. The enchained prisoners of Plato.
And how they resemble us.
So I thought, but this is cinema. In fact, symbolically, the viewers are like prisoners, sitting, forced to look at these shadows of the reality, because the cinema is not the reality itself, it's the shadow of the reality.
While he was telling me this story, I thought of one specific painting which was made by Michelangelo Merisi called Il Caravaggio, La Vocazione di San Matteo, particularly exactly in this kind of delineation between light and darkness. The idea that Caravaggio had, this is one of the only paintings that I know where there is this specific separation between light and darkness, between the divine and the human being. The symbology that was used in the Conformist was between light as a consciousness, darkness as unknown, so as unconscious, which was exactly the structure of the character. Somebody that have to hide something into himself, something that you don't know, shouldn't know, something that you shouldn't see, so in the darkness, is something that he present in front of him as a reality, which was the conscious side. So this specific relation in painting was for me exactly the symbol of what I was trying to do in lighting, specifically not only the character, but the entire principle of the Conformist.
This was the idea, and we had to materialize this idea. And around the scene, there was the aura of few people very, very enthusiastic of their discovery. And that is what gives to the scene a certain strength and a certain charisma.
Beautiful words, but you left and I became a fascist.
Excuse me, Clerici, but a confirmed fascist doesn't talk like that.
When you are behind the camera and you look in the hole of the camera, in the loop, you are a voyeur like when you were a little boy, a little girl, you are going to spy on your parents' bedroom.
If I weren't married, you said,
Yes, I might have said that. But I am married.
doesn't mean a thing.
And I think that in The Conformist, when he is spying, the two girls, his wife and Dominique Sanda, having this kind of erotic moment together, I understood then, seeing the film, that maybe there is